If I had known that one sentence would break the last thread holding our relationship together, maybe I would have reacted differently. Maybe I would have argued. Maybe I would have begged him to reconsider. But instead, when Joseph Walsh looked me dead in the eyes, under the neon glow of that rooftop party, and told me, "Stop acting like we're serious. I don't want people thinking I'm tied down," something inside me went completely unmistakably still. My name is Tracy Dorrance. I'm 35 years old, and this is the story of how the man I once loved shattered the quiet, patient version of me and how I rose from the pieces. Joseph and I had been together for 3 years. 3 years of late-night brainstorming sessions, sacrificed opportunities, and choosing him over myself more times than I can count. When we met, the world felt simple. I was a software developer, climbing steadily at a mid-sized tech firm, and he was a marketing assistant with big dreams of becoming a full-time lifestyle influencer. I admired the ambition, the spark, the way he could walk into any room and instantly absorb all attention like it was oxygen. In the beginning, he called me his anchor. I called him my adventure. I didn't see the foreshadowing, even though it was right there in the way his eyes lit up more for strangers' compliments than for anything I ever said, in the way his phone became the third presence in every conversation, in the way Sabrina Hale, his ex-girlfriend, subtly drifted back into his orbit the moment his follower count started rising. But love makes you rationalize, and I loved him enough to carry the weight of both our futures. When Joseph finally quit his job to pursue influencing full-time, it wasn't a mutual decision. It was him walking into our apartment in early winter, dropping the news like an afterthought, and assuming I'd fill in the blanks. "You believe in me, right?" he said with that magnetic grin. I did. Of course I did. So I paid the rent for 6 months straight while he built his brand identity. I cooked. I cleaned. I worked late hours. I became the quiet backbone behind every little milestone he celebrated online. He would stand in front of our ring light filming takes of his morning routine videos, and I would watch him thinking I was witnessing the rise of someone destined for greatness. I didn't realize I was simultaneously watching the decline of what we had. The shift was subtle at first. Joseph would compare himself to other influencers, mostly men Sabrina worked with, but the tone felt off. "They're more adventurous than you," he'd say casually, more daring, more spontaneous. I'd laugh it off, pretending it didn't sting, but deep down the words sat heavy like small stones piling onto my chest. Then came the events, brand launches, rooftop mixers, private collab parties that required wristbands, and a certain level of curated aesthetic. He used to invite me. Then he stopped insisting I'd be bored. "This world is different," he said, "and it's better if you let me handle it." He came home late, smelling like cocktails and foreign perfume. I asked once lightly, "Long shoot?" He smiled. Something like that. The smile didn't reach his eyes. The humiliation came in layers, first soft, then sharp, then cutting. The Instagram stories where he wrote captions like, "Single vibes tonight," even though he was living with me. The vague text replies when I asked where he was, the way his phone turned face down whenever he set it on the table. When I confronted him gently, he always redirected it back onto me. "Tracy, this is how marketing works. It's just engagement strategy. You're too sensitive. My audience loves mystery." But I wasn't sensitive. I was aware. Aware that I was slowly becoming the shadow he stepped over to stand in the spotlight. Flashback to the night he asked me not to take a promotion that would have required relocating. "I need you here to help with my content," he pleaded. I stayed. I turned down a 20% raise because he cried in my arms and said, "We're a team." I thought that meant something. I didn't realize it meant I was the team. He burned through our joint savings for equipment, outfits, props, travel shoots. I justified it all. He's building something. He'll make it someday. He just needs time. But the truth, I was paying for a life he enjoyed without me. By spring, the cracks were no longer cracks. They were fault lines. Joseph posted flirtatious pictures with Sabrina. She tagged him with heart emojis. He replied with ones I recognized because he used to send them to me. Mutual friends started giving me pity glances. One even asked if I was okay because Joseph had been a little too friendly with someone at a club. I tried to talk to him. "Joseph," I said one night after cooking his favorite pasta, "I feel like we're drifting. Your posts, the late nights. It's making me question where we stand." He didn't even pause the show he was watching. "God, not this again. If you can't handle my lifestyle, maybe you're not cut out for dating someone like me." The words sliced cleanly, effortlessly. I didn't cry. I just sat there and felt Small. The rooftop party was the point of no return. The lights wrapped around the edges of the building like glittering vines. The crowd overflowed with glossy people wearing curated outfits and curated personalities. Joseph was in his element, laughing too loudly, posing too perfectly, standing too close to Sabrina. At one point, while I was talking to acquaintances, I rested a hand on his waist. A simple gesture, something natural. He stiffened like I'd slapped him. Then in front of everyone, he said loudly, "Stop acting like we're serious. I don't want people thinking I'm tied down." His voice carried. Sabrina smirked. People glanced. Someone stifled a laugh. I didn't react. I simply looked at him, really looked, and in that moment realized I didn't know the man standing in front of me anymore. Or maybe I finally did. That night, while he stayed out networking, I went home alone. Our apartment felt foreign, like it had already chosen its true owner, and it wasn't me. I sat on the couch remembering our first anniversary when he said I was his forever. Funny how easily forever became "you're tying me down." Around dawn, the numbness dissolved into clarity. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to cry. I just needed to leave. So I packed quietly, closed toiletries, laptop, the objects that still felt like mine. I left everything else untouched. By the time the sun rose, the closet was empty, my side of the bed was smooth, and there was no trace of me left for him to step on. I didn't leave a note. I didn't owe one. Joseph's call came at 10 a.m., just as the sunlight crept across the small wooden table in the cafe, where I sat with a black coffee and a packed car parked outside. His name lit up my phone like a reminder of everything I had just walked away from. I answered not because I wanted to talk, but because I needed the closure to be clean, undeniable, final. His voice was groggy, confused, edged with annoyance. "Tracy." "Hey, where are you?" "I just got home." "And why is your closet empty? Did you go to the gym or something?" For a moment, I watched dust drift through the beam of sunlight on the table. Everything felt still, like the world had finally paused long enough for me to breathe. When I spoke, I made sure my voice was steady, something he never gave me the grace of being. "You didn't want to be tied down," I said softly. I listened. There was silence on his end, the kind that comes from someone who doesn't actually believe consequences apply to them. Then a strained laugh. "Come on, Trace. That's not what I meant. I was just, you know how parties are. People were watching. Don't be dramatic. When are you coming back?" The way he said it, like my leaving was a minor inconvenience, something that could be reset with a half-hearted apology. Like I was an intermission in his movie, not a person he'd hurt repeatedly. "I'm not," I said. A small part of me expected backlash or a deeper apology, but he reacted exactly how I should have predicted. "What do you mean you're not?" His voice sharpened. "We need to talk about this. You're overreacting to one stupid comment." "It wasn't one comment," I said. "It's everything." And before he could twist my words, I added, "We're done. Take care." He said my name once sharply like a command. I hung up. Then I blocked the number. Just like that, the tie he'd refused to claim loosened and finally snapped. I didn't drive far, only across town, but the distance felt indescribably larger. The studio apartment I found wasn't glamorous. One room, white walls, a rattling fridge, a window overlooking an alley. But it was mine. There was no ring light buzzing, no scattered clothes from Joseph's last style shoot, no tension bleeding into every corner. For the first time in years, I felt the air around me settle. That first night, I sat on the floor eating noodles straight from the container, the warmth grounding me. I didn't cry. I didn't feel lost. I felt quiet. An unfamiliar quiet, but a welcoming one. I threw myself into work next. Not out of avoidance, but out of reclamation. With Joseph no longer pulling at my time, my attention, my self-worth, something inside me sharpened. I arrived early, stayed focused, took on the responsibilities I used to decline because I needed to rush home and cook or help him film. My manager saw the change. 3 weeks in, she offered me the promotion I once refused. For him, the one that required too much time apart. This time, I signed the paperwork without even blinking. With my evenings free, I went to the gym. Not because Joseph liked me camera ready, but because I wanted to feel my body belonged to me again. I started hiking on weekends, something he always mocked. He'd say, "Why walk uphill for fun? That's so pointless." But alone on the trails, surrounded by trees and crisp air, I realized I had been starving for this simplicity. Every step loosened the tightness I'd been carrying for years. Sometimes at night, lying in my small bed, I'd hear echoes of that rooftop moment replaying in my mind. The humiliation, the public dismissal, the realization that I had spent years being the afterthought in the story I helped build. But instead of spiraling, I breathed through it. Healing didn't come all at once. It came in small shifts, tiny permissions I gave myself to feel human again. I didn't check Joseph's socials after blocking him. I didn't stalk his updates. I didn't look for validation in watching him fail. But the world is noisy, and gossip has a way of finding you even when you're trying to outrun it. A friend texted me out of nowhere. Not sure if you heard. Joseph and Sabrina are public now, and it's already messy. I didn't reply. But for a brief second, I imagined him happily stepping into the chaos he once used as justification for belittling me. Another message came days later. She's using him. Like, it's obvious. His comments are a disaster. Still, I stayed silent. I didn't want satisfaction from someone else's downfall. I just wanted distance. But the universe had impeccable timing. A coworker pulled me aside one morning, hesitant. "Did you see Sabrina's story?" She was yelling at someone, pretty sure it was Joseph. "They're losing a collab because of it." I nodded. That was all. No shock, no spike of adrenaline, no petty thrill, just quiet acknowledgement. More screenshots leaked. Clips of their arguments went viral. People speculated about cheating manipulation, broken promises, and professional irresponsibility. What Joseph once worshipped, public validation, turned on him. Brand deals fell through. His image cracked under the weight of the drama he helped create. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt free. He always told me I wasn't built for his world. Turns out neither was he. Then the messages from unknown numbers began. "Tracy, it's me. Please talk to me." I deleted them. You don't get to just disappear like this. Blocked. "Trace, I messed up. I miss you." "I'm sorry." Ignored. "You owe me a conversation." I didn't owe him anything. One evening, after picking up takeout near my old neighborhood, someone said my name. Breathless, cracked, shocked. I turned, and there he was, Joseph. Except not the polished version from before. His hair was messy, eyes tired, clothes wrinkled like he hadn't slept more than a few hours and days. "There you are," he exhaled, walking toward me like a drowning man reaching for land. "I've been looking everywhere. Why won't you answer?" "I don't owe you a conversation," I said, keeping my grip on the bag in my hand. My voice didn't shake. "There's nothing left to talk about." "Yes, there is." His voice trembled. "Sabrina, she used me. She twisted things. I'm staying with my mom now. Everything's falling apart. I need you." There it was again, that word. Need. Not love, not respect, just need. As if that was the same thing. "That's your situation to fix," I said. "Not mine." He reached out fingers, brushing my arm in a desperate attempt to keep me tethered. "Tracy, please. We can start over. I'll change. Just give me another chance." For a moment, I saw a version of myself from months ago. Someone who would have believed him. Someone who thought love meant holding on to the person hurting you. But she was gone. "No," I said simply. I walked to my car, opened the door, and left him standing there, stunned, shrinking, disappearing in my rearview mirror. My heart didn't pound. My eyes didn't sting. My hands didn't shake. For the first time, I realized the truth. I wasn't walking away from him. I was walking back to myself. When I walked away from Joseph outside that restaurant, I thought that was the end. A final clean exit. No lingering threads. No emotional residue. But people like Joseph don't just vanish. They unravel slowly, loudly, and publicly. And somehow the echoes of their downfall still manage to find you even when you're not looking. Weeks slipped by quietly. I settled further into my new rhythm, early mornings at work. Gym sessions, after dark weekends, spent hiking or reading in coffee shops. I wasn't rebuilding out of spite. I was simply reclaiming pieces of myself that had been dormant for years. The difference was subtle at first. I laughed more, slept deeper, ate without a knot in my stomach. It was strange how peace felt almost unfamiliar, like I had to learn how to live with it again. Then one morning, a friend sent a message that made me pause mid-sip of my coffee. "Have you seen what's happening with Joseph and Sabrina?" I hadn't. I didn't follow either of them. I didn't even have their accounts accessible after blocking and removing all traces. But curiosity isn't the same thing as caring, and a part of me opened the message thread. Apparently, Joseph and Sabrina had gone public hard launch, curated photos, captions, dripping with fake intimacy. Someone wrote an entire thread dissecting their chemistry like it was breaking news. But it didn't take long for everything to crack. Within days, screenshots leaked of Sabrina complaining about Joseph's no work ethic. Then text messages surfaced between her and another influencer, someone she was flirting with behind Joseph's back, mocking him. Brands who had once been interested in Joseph quietly distanced themselves the moment drama started boiling. Deals fell through. Plans got canceled. The worst part wasn't the fallout itself, it was how loud it all became. Joseph had always craved attention. He lived for engagement validation being wanted, but when the attention turned negative, he crumbled. Another friend DM'd me a video clip that was circulating. At first I refused to watch, but she insisted, just see what you escaped. It was a recording from Sabrina's live stream, an argument between her and Joseph. Her voice was sharp, mocking. His was desperate, almost pleading. She called him dead weight. He told her to stop broadcasting their fight. She didn't. It was humiliating, messy, and public, everything he once accused me of being afraid of. I watched 10 seconds, then closed it. That was enough. Joseph spiraled quickly after that. Word spread that Sabrina had been using him for access, for free promo, for clout. Once his sponsorships took a hit from the drama in his comments, she ditched him for someone with a more stable trajectory, someone she claimed had real star potential. I thought that would be the end of it, that he'd stay wrapped up in his new chaos. But spiraling people have a way of reaching for whatever once felt solid, and for him, that was me. The messages escalated. New numbers, new fake accounts, voicemails with shaky breaths and slurred apologies. I'm sorry, Tracy. I should have chosen you. Please, just meet me. 2 minutes. That's all. I'm losing everything. I need you. You're the only one who ever cared about me. Don't do this. Don't leave me alone. He tried every tone, remorseful, nostalgic, angry, manipulative, desperate. I stayed silent. One night after a long shift, I found him waiting near my building's entrance. I froze the second I saw him slumped against the wall, hands shaking, wearing the same jacket he'd worn the night he humiliated me on the rooftop. The moment he spotted me, he straightened abruptly, wiping his face, like he could erase the last few weeks in a single motion. Tracy exhaled. Finally. You have no idea how long I've been waiting. I kept my distance. Joseph, you can't be here. I need to explain. His voice trembled. Sabrina, she wrecked my life. She played me. She stole my money. She humiliated me online. I didn't know she recorded us. I didn't know she'd turn everyone against me. That's between you and her, I said plainly. His face contorted. But you don't get it. None of this would have happened if I'd stayed with you. I was better with you, more stable, more grounded. I need that again. I need you again. His words didn't move me. They didn't hurt me. They didn't even spark anger. They just made things incredibly painfully clear. You don't want me, I said quietly. You want whoever makes your life easier. That's not fair, he argued. I loved you, Tracy. You loved the version of me that carried you, I interrupted. Not the version who finally walked away. He blinked, and for the first time I saw the truth land behind his eyes. The truth he had been avoiding since the day he told me he didn't want to look tied down. He stepped closer. Please, just say we can try again. I'll quit influencing. I'll get a real job. You'll say anything right now, I said softly, but you won't follow through. His shoulders slumped. His breathing stuttered. He looked small, crumbling under the weight of consequences he never expected to face. Don't do this, he whispered. Don't leave me like this. I'm not leaving you, I said. I left months ago. You just finally noticed. I walked past him. He didn't reach out this time. Maybe because he finally understood he had no power left over me. Maybe because he saw that my silence wasn't a game, it was liberation. I heard him sniff once, a small, broken sound, but I didn't look back. Not because I wanted him to suffer, but because I was done letting his suffering define me. Inside my apartment, I locked the door and exhaled slowly. The world outside felt loud, chaotic, messy, his world. But mine was finally beautifully quiet. What I didn't know then was that his collapse wasn't done. Not yet. And those who feel entitled to your support never go down gently. Joseph didn't disappear after that night outside my building. If anything, he became more relentless, as if losing everything made him believe he had the right to reclaim the one person who once offered stability. But I had already stepped out of the version of myself who tolerated chaos. I wasn't going backwards. The messages didn't stop, they only shifted in tone. Some were desperate pleas for forgiveness, long paragraphs about how Sabrina had broken him, how he finally understood my worth. Some were angry accusations that I'd abandoned him, that I'd enjoyed watching him fall. Some were manipulative reminders of our good memories, half apologies framed as if he were doing me a favor. I didn't respond to any of them. But Joseph wasn't alone. His family soon joined the campaign. The first call came from a withheld number. I expected it to be another fake number he was using, so I let it go to voicemail. When I listened later, I was greeted with a shrill, unforgiving voice. "This is Eileen, Joseph's mother. How dare you ghost my son during the hardest moment of his life? He's heartbroken. He's been crying for days. You need to talk to him. You women always leave when things get rough. You should be ashamed." I deleted the message halfway through. The next day, a text from his older sister arrived. "Wow, you're really showing your true colors. Joseph supported you for years. Least you can do is help him with rent until he gets back on his feet. Family sticks together." Family. I almost laughed. I wasn't their family. I was a convenience as long as I was useful to Joseph. I blocked them all. Soon after, mutual friends messaged me to apologize for getting caught in the middle. Apparently, Joseph had been telling people I'd abandoned him out of nowhere, conveniently skipping over the part where he publicly dismissed our relationship for clout. One friend wrote, "He's spiraling, like, badly. But honestly, you did everything for him. He's just hitting the consequences." I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel sorry either. I simply felt done. My life, on the other hand, was unfolding quietly and beautifully. The promotion I'd accepted began opening doors. I traveled for work, small trips at first, then bigger ones. I connected with colleagues who respected me, valued my ideas. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't defined by someone else's emotional weather. One Saturday, after hiking a new trail, I stopped at a small cafe at the trailhead. A man around my age was sitting outside reading boots still muddy from the same terrain I'd just walked. We exchanged a smile, then a comment about the humidity, then a short conversation about hiking routes. His name was Ethan. He didn't try too hard. He didn't talk over me. He didn't make everything about himself. There was something steady about him, grounded, present, every opposite of Joseph. We talked again the next week, then the next. It happened naturally, without pressure, without the feeling that I needed to perform or act like some curated version of myself. For the first time in years, I enjoyed someone simply because they made life feel calm, not chaotic. I didn't tell him about Joseph right away. Not because I was hiding anything, but because Joseph no longer felt like a reference point for my future. But life has a way of testing your healing just when you think you're past the worst of it. About 6 months after I left Joseph, I received an invitation to Mike's wedding. He was a mutual friend, but he and I were close enough that I knew I wanted to celebrate with him. I RSVP'd yes. Ethan agreed to come with me. He showed up in a navy suit, hair neatly combed tie matching my dress. When he smiled at me before we left, I realized how long it had been since I'd felt safe standing next to someone. The venue was beautiful string lights hanging above a rustic garden courtyard, soft music playing, guests dressed in pastel tones and warmth. I felt peaceful walking in with Ethan's hand resting gently on my lower back. I didn't even think about Joseph being there. Why would I? He wasn't invited. He wasn't part of that circle anymore. But chaos has always had a talent for slipping in through openings no one expects. During cocktail hour, while Ethan and I were talking with a small group, I felt someone staring at me. The hairs on my arms lifted, a cold sensation sliding down my spine. When I turned slightly, I saw him. Joseph. He wasn't supposed to be there. He clearly wasn't invited. He must have come as someone's plus one, probably a loose acquaintance who didn't know the backstory. The moment he locked eyes with me, something in his expression cracked. He looked stunned, betrayed by reality itself. He took a breath, then made a sharp movement toward me, like he was afraid I'd vanish if he didn't act fast. "Tracy," he blurted, ignoring everyone around us. "Oh my God, finally. I've been trying to reach you for months. Can we talk privately?" Ethan subtly shifted, not aggressively, just protectively. His hand found mine, thumb, brushing comfort across my knuckles. Joseph's eyes darted to Ethan, then back at me, and his face twisted. "Who is this you? You're already with someone else." I stayed calm. "Yes, Joseph, I am." He swallowed hard, voice trembling. "Please, I'm begging you. Just listen, I made mistakes. Sabrina, she was abusive. She hit me once. She drained my accounts. She humiliated me publicly. I'm in therapy now. I'm trying to get better. But I need you. You were my stability, Tracy. I see that now. I was stupid. So stupid. The desperation in his voice drew glances from nearby guests. Some whispered, some stared outright. It was almost cinematic, him begging in front of the same type of social crowd he once used to belittle me. I'll quit influencing, he pleaded. I'll get a real job. I'll change. Just give me one more chance, please. He looked at me as if salvation lived behind my ribcage. And in that moment, I felt nothing. No anger, no sympathy, no nostalgia. Just distance. A wide, quiet distance he couldn't cross anymore. Joseph. I said, my voice calm and steady. You didn't want people thinking you were tied down, so I let you be free. His face crumpled, the reversal slicing straight through him. Before he could speak again, I tightened my hold on Ethan's hand and added, my life moved on, and so did I. Guests watched as the truth landed. Even Mike's wife sent him a sharp glare, clearly realizing he had crashed the wedding to chase closure he didn't deserve. Joseph stood there shaking, humiliated in a way that mirrored the rooftop night he once used to dismiss me. But I didn't stay long enough to watch him fall apart. Ethan guided me gently toward the reception hall, and with every step I felt something lighten in my chest, a final anchor releasing. Joseph had once said I wasn't cut out for his world. He was right. I wasn't cut out for his world. I was cut out for mine. The moment I walked away from Joseph at Mike's wedding, hand in hand with Ethan, I felt something shift deep inside me. Not a dramatic epiphany, not a surge of triumph, just a quiet certainty. A door that had stayed cracked open for far too long finally clicked shut. But endings, even when clean, aren't always silent. Joseph didn't storm out of the wedding immediately. I heard later from Mike's wife that he lingered near the courtyard, pacing in small circles like someone trying to outrun his own thoughts. Guests avoided him, politely giving him the kind of wide berth reserved for explosions waiting to happen. Eventually, someone escorted him out. Not because he caused a scene, but because he looked like a scene waiting for an excuse. Ethan didn't ask. He didn't pry. As we found our seats for the dinner reception, he simply leaned close and murmured, "If you need to leave, just say the word." I shook my head. I'm fine. Strangely, I really was. For 3 years, Joseph had been the axis around which my life spun. His moods, his ambitions, his constant need for validation, his gravity pulled everything toward him. I didn't realize how disoriented I'd become until I was free from his orbit. The reception unfolded gently around us, clinking glasses, soft music, laughter, drifting across the tables. Halfway through dinner, I caught my reflection in a window and barely recognized myself. Not physically, my hair, my dress, my posture were familiar enough, but the expression, the stillness, the absence of tension around my eyes. I looked like someone who finally belonged in her own life. Later, when the lights dimmed for the first dance, Ethan slipped his hand into mine. "You okay?" I nodded. Better than okay. He smiled, not the kind of smile that demands something in return, just one that acknowledges the moment. We danced slowly, my head resting near his shoulder, the music settling around us like a soft blanket. For the first time in years, I didn't feel watched. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like I was competing with a phone screen or an audience I hadn't signed up to entertain. I just felt present. When the night ended and we walked to the car, Ethan didn't mention Joseph. He didn't ask for explanations. He didn't need to. The silence between us felt like understanding, not avoidance. And that was something I hadn't realized I'd been missing space to breathe without being told how to. The next morning, I woke up with a strange clarity. For so long, my emotions had been tangled with Joseph. Resentment, hurt, confusion, disappointment. But now they felt like threads I could finally pull apart without the whole thing unraveling. A message waited on my phone from an unknown number. "I'm sorry for yesterday. I shouldn't have approached you like that. I didn't know what else to do." I stared at it for a moment. Months ago, that apology, thin and incomplete, would have been enough to pull me back into negotiations. Months ago, I would have convinced myself to be patient, to be understanding, to give him another chance to change. But now it felt like reading a stranger's apology. I deleted the message without responding. Days passed, then a week, then 2. No more calls, no more numbers, no more attempts to guilt me into returning. It was as if, after the wedding, Joseph finally realized the truth he'd spent months running from. There was no version of the future where I came back. A month after the wedding, mutual friends told me Joseph had left town. Apparently he'd moved back in with his mother while he tried to figure things out. The chaos he once embraced had consumed him, and now he was trying to escape it entirely. Part of me wondered how different things could have been if he'd chosen substance over image, stability over chaos, partnership over performance. But the thought drifted away as quickly as it came. Some stories don't need alternate endings. Some endings are the lesson. Life didn't transform overnight, but it blossomed in small, genuine ways. Work flourished. My hikes became longer, my breaths deeper. I started cooking again, not out of obligation, but because the process calmed me. Ethan and I grew closer slowly, gently, without the frantic intensity that once defined my relationship with Joseph. One evening, while Ethan and I were making dinner together, he said quietly, "You know, you're different now." I paused, half laughing. "Different how?" "Lighter," he said, like someone who stopped carrying a weight she never should have been holding. The words hit somewhere tender. Not painful, just honest. "I didn't realize how heavy it was," I admitted. "You don't have to carry anything alone anymore," he said, his voice steady, not performative. And that was the difference. Joseph needed me to carry him. Ethan wanted to carry things with me. Months later, there was one final thread left to cut. I walked past the old apartment building, more out of coincidence than intention, and looked up at the balcony where Joseph had filmed so many of his early videos. The place looked smaller now, dimmer. The world that once felt so big and important suddenly looked like a stage built out of tissue paper. I stood there for a moment, letting the memories pass silently, both the good and the bitter. Then, without ceremony, I turned and continued walking. There was no dramatic goodbye, no lingering ache, just closure. Some people imagine closure as a grand emotional climax, but mine was simple, easy, quiet. Closure happened the moment I understood that Joseph's downfall wasn't my justice. It wasn't even my concern. The real justice was how much better my life became without him. It was in the promotion I earned because no one demanded my time like a resource to consume. It was in the stable, gentle love growing between me and Ethan. It was in the laughter that came back naturally. It was in choosing myself without apology. Joseph once said he didn't want people thinking he was tied down. He got exactly what he asked for, and I got everything I didn't even know I deserved. As for the final thought, the one people always wonder about, the one that lingers at the end of stories like this, I'll say it clearly, I don't hate him. I don't want revenge. I don't even wish him harm. I just hope he figures out who he is without needing someone else's